Hi, this is just a quick video, just asking for prayer for my two dogs. Um, I made this video 3 weeks ago now about how the Lord showed me by September 2024, it would be time to uh, be in a secure location, time to flee. Okay, for what's coming, I don't know. Just that would be a time, a marker. And he showed me in the dream that we have four dogs, and he showed me in the dream that my two older dogs would not be alive by then. Um, and that's, you know, reasonable because they are 11 and a half and 14 and a half. But I wanted to ask for prayer for them because since I made this video, which was, when did I post this? Doesn't show me the exact date I posted this. Anyway, it just says 3 weeks. I can't see the date I posted it. I think it was the very beginning, like December 1st or 2nd. I started needing to take those two dogs to the vet. So I wanted to share Asher and Simon with you. This is Asher. Um, this is a picture of when he was like 2.5. Isn't he beautiful? Uh, they're both old men now, but I'll show you a recent picture. So this is Asher. Um, he was one of five born to his dad, that I'll show you next, and my husband's dog Tabitha. So Simon and Tabitha had a litter, and after that we got Tabitha fixed, um, and we kept Asher. And Asher's had a rough life, and he's in one of my videos about uh, words, dreams, and visions that the Lord's given me that have come to pass because he was a miracle. He had his first, second, and I believe his third parvo and distemper combo shot, when he was a puppy. But like 5 days after the third one, he actually contracted parvo. And so he was in the hospital for 9 days, and he was like about 4 months old. Maybe almost 4 months old. Anyway, he his brother, there was five. His brother got sick first, and then a day or two later, Asher got sick. But then by the time I took Asher to the vet, his the other boy had died, and then we ended up selling the third boy and the two girls, and they both didn't get it. They all didn't get it. Just Asher and uh, Arik. So Asher was in the hospital, and it's a long story, but basically the Lord saved him because he was on IV. I gave him all kinds of meds, try to keep him from throwing up and having the other way out. And he was skin and bones when we picked him up, and even needed to be bathed. He was full of bile and stuff, and it was just, I still had to nurse him after the 9 days in the hospital at home. But he's been with us now 11 and a half years. His birthday is coming up May 17th, 2023. If he makes it to then, he'll be 12. And he's just a goofy guy. Anyway, trying not to cry. It was the Lord who saved him because when he had parvo, on like the seventh day, the vet would call me every day with an update, and his white count went to 1,000. It's supposed to be, normal is 7 to 10,000, and his dropped to 1,000 because of the virus. And he said usually at 1,000 or below, they won't make it because they don't have enough antibodies to white cells to fight it. So that's when my husband and I fasted and prayed. And sorry, um, we fasted and prayed, and we, you know, uh, reminded the Lord of his word where he says that if we ask anything in his name, he'll do it. And we asked for his healing, and we've been blessed with another 11 plus years with him. So God is good, and he brought him out of that, and he started to improve after that day of fasting and prayer. And I had a prompting of the Holy Spirit to go to the hospital and bring him something that smelled like my husband, a shirt that he had worn, or a towel, even, something that could be in his kennel in the isolation room that would, remind him of home, and know, so he would know that we were still there. And we got to look at him through the crack of the door. Couldn't go in because they don't want you to spread the virus to the other patients. So we looked at him and said hello through the crack of the door. His tail wagged a little bit, and then they gave him my husband's shirt and to put in there with him so he could, snuggle with it. And I really believe that that helped him, um, give him the he needed to get through it until the next day where he started to get better and the Lord. So, anyways, when we took him to the vet, he's been having some, like around, they eat at like 4:30, 5 in the morning, and then 4 in the afternoon, because my husband, when he worked, would feed him when he got up for work. So, about a month ago, or maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago at the most, sometime in November, um, around 12 to 2ish in the afternoon, when his stomach was empty, um, he would vomit just like liquid, just yellow or green bile, just, just no food, just empty stomach. And so, we just thought it was something he ate, or anyway, um, it, some days he would not do it, and then some days he would. So eventually we took him to the vet shortly after I made this video, and where I talked about in 2 years we would need to flee and these guys wouldn't no longer be around. And he, I wanted them to ultrasound his liver, um, and because he's older, they said, well, we should probably start with blood work. And I'm like, okay. So they did blood work, and one of his liver enzymes was double what it should be. So they're like, and that's the one that shows that there's dead liver cells, which was not a good sign. So then they said he does need an ultrasound. I'm like, okay. So I mean, I sort of already knew it, and then they did an ultrasound. Another vet, I took him to a different vet, and they called me and said that he had a tumor in his spleen that's about the size of a small lime, and then there's like I think she said three small tumors in his liver, so that it's already spread. So they could remove the spleen, but it's already metastasized to the liver. So there's really no point in putting him through the surgery. So for now, they gave him a nausea pill that I give him like every 2 or 3 days. I try to make it last because it's very expensive, and they also gave him like a Pepsid AC tablet to take in the day, and to keep his stomach. Um, so it's famotidine. It's Pepsid AC. So, and then maybe feeding him an extra cup of food around 11ish in the morning will help keep his stomach so it's not empty, because I think the liver is secreting extra bile because of the issue, and so it just upsets his stomach. But other than that, he's fine. He acts normal, and he's still annoying to the other dogs. So, but I just wanted to reach out and have you guys pray for these guys. And so his dad here is Simon. This is my dog that I trained when he was a puppy. This is like a picture of him when he was like about, I don't know, 2 and 3. And now he's 14 and a half. So they're both German Shepherds. Um, Simon's been a blessing. He's super smart, and he's such a great guy. Um, I joke that he's got cat lives. He's got like 9 lives, and it's he's like, if he was a person, he'd be one of those people that bad things happen to him, and he sort of just lets it roll off of his shoulder. Anyways, nothing major serious has happened to him. Well, it has, but even when he was 6 months old, we got into a car accident. He was in his dog crate in the back of my van. So the crate didn't go anywhere. It sort of did topple around. And he did get shot up to the roof of it when we went through like a ditch. But my van, that I still owed 17 grand on, was totaled. So that's the extent of the damage. And so he went through that at 6 months old, and that was traumatizing. Then it was from then on, whenever he's in the car or in a crate in the car, he lays down as soon as the car starts moving. So, um, but I mean, so that's the first big thing he dealt with, and and then of course his son and getting parvo and having that around the house, and he didn't get parvo. Um, but recently, I mean, he's been a year and a half ago when he was 13. He got really ill, and it was the first day in his life he never ate, and he was just laying there like his whole body hurt. And I took him to the vet, and he had 104 temperature, which is 100 up to 102, 102, 102 and a half is normal, but his was 104, and it seemed like his whole body was in pain. And the first thing they thought said was it's probably, liver cancer or renal kidney failure, something, because he was 13. And I just looked at the doctor and said, it's not cancer, right? Because it doesn't happen just overnight where all of a sudden he's got a fever and he won't eat and his body hurts. And yesterday he was fine. The house we lived in California had a creek that went from yard to yard and a big pond dug out in our yard. So we had lots of wildlife, raccoons, and everything that would frequent the yard, and thus they're susceptible to leptospirosis, which is a bacteria that can be spread through other animals in the urine. And when I first dropped him off at the vet, I suggested that he had an infection. I didn't know what, but I asked for antibiotics and an IV because he didn't want to eat or drink. Did not even want to eat an egg, which is weird. So I was like, there's something seriously wrong. And so they just like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, basically the whole first day he was there, they gave him an IV, but they gave him metronidazole, which is like an antibiotic for your digestive tract, because they figured if he didn't want to eat, it was something intestinal, or that he swallowed something and he had a blockage. And I was like, no, no, he doesn't chew on anything. He's 13. And he has a fever. They thought he was septic because he had a blocked bowel, or he had liver or kidney failure or cancer. And I was like, no. And so I researched it that whole first night, and I discovered that it was probably leptospirosis. And I told the vet, and they just thought I was crazy because they get severely ill with that, and if it's not treated ASAP, they die. I mean, it's like a bacteria, but it spreads quickly. And they x-rayed his liver, and there was stuff in his liver. So she was adamant that it was liver cancer. So, but his liver enzymes were normal. And how would he be dying from liver disease if his liver enzymes were normal? It doesn't make sense. So I took him home the second day, and I asked for IV fluids that I could give to him subcutaneously under his skin on his back. And I switched his antibiotic to doxycycline, which is the one that kills leptospirosis. And it even affected his kidneys somewhat too, because it seemed like his kidneys were starting to shut down because he couldn't really urinate adequately, and he wasn't drinking a lot either. so he was dehydrated. So I gave him fluids and I gave him that, and I prayed and laid hands on him, and the next day he was like 50% better, and I just kept giving him the antibiotic twice a day, and you know, didn't deal with them anymore, and then he got better and he got better and he got better. They had given him the lepto titer test when I had him there that second day just to appease me, and that came back negative. So those two vets were adamant that, see, that's not what it was. Um, but it won't show antibodies for a couple weeks when you're fighting that infection because they're not built up in your body yet because you just got the bacteria. So I waited up till he was healthy and well a month later, and I took him to another vet, and had a new titer done, and it came back positive, which showed he had a recent leptospirosis infection. And I had her do the ultrasound again, and his liver was clear. So it was just the bacteria. He would have died, but they were writing him off. So now flash forward to 14 and a half years old today, and took him to the vet Monday because last week I noticed he had a swollen gum on the right side of his lower jaw, and it was bleeding, and it smelled like bacteria and like an infection. And then he had a really large lump between the gums and the cheek, so like a big pocket. And so I figured it must be a tooth and an abscess. And so I took him Monday, and they did do blood work, which I haven't got back yet because the weather was bad yesterday. Um, and they did X-rays, and they removed some gum tissue. They put him to sleep for a moment, removed some gum tissue, not the big bulge that I'm talking about, but he thought the whole gum line looked bad, like it was not normal. So he thinks it's some type of cancer, oral cancer. But the big bulge is like an egg shape. It's like an oval sac, and it's smooth, and it's, to me it's just swollen tissue, like there's an abscess underneath it. And I remembered yesterday that about 6 to 8 weeks ago, Dexter, his 6-year-old son, did chomp his jaw with his jaw and clamped onto his jaw on that right side, and punctured like a sore on the bottom of the jaw, and then on the inside who knows what damage was done because Dexter's he just clamped on and wouldn't let go, and I had to pry his mouth open to let Simon out. So I'm thinking that trauma caused an abscess, and it's not his teeth because they x-rayed and the teeth are okay. So it's either got to be an abscess from the trauma, which I have to talk to the doctor about because I just remembered that happens, a bit ago, or it's some kind of oral cancer. So I'm praying against cancer. Told the doctor it's not cancer, just like I did about the liver a year and a half ago. And I know he's old, and I know his time is limited. But here's a recent picture of the two of them. This was taken like, I don't know, a week ago. So here's Asher, and here's Simon. And yeah, it's on the right side of Simon's lower jaw, so the other side. And then this guy's got the spleen and the liver thing going on. But if you could pray for Simon and Asher, I'd appreciate it, because I know, you know, they're gonna go sometime, but I just want Simon's mouth to be, even if it was a tumor in there, I want somebody to be able to remove the big one so that it's not uncomfortable for him to chew his food. His teeth are not broken, his teeth roots are fine. Like I said, it's just like over in the back, in this bottom area of the back lower jaw inside. And it's on the smooth cheek skin, and it's just a big bulge. So he's on an antibiotic and an anti-inflammatory, and then famotidine also to help his stomach not be upset. Um, but even if it were any cancer, I'd like to get the big pocket taken off. I don't think it's cancer though. I think it's an abscess, and they're going to need to drain it. Um, he already today seems like 50% better with the anti-inflammatory and the antibiotic that he's been taking since I started giving him one on my own on Friday. So today's Wednesday. Um, but it's still hard and it's still there. And the thing is, the swelling gets worse and better. It got worse after they like manipulated his mouth for the x-rays and took pictures, which is understandable because they were like poking around in there. But if it was cancer, the swelling wouldn't get worse or better. Um, so I'm just praying against that, and I'm asking everyone to pray with me. Um, I know that they won't be here in another 21 months, but um, in the meantime, while they're here, I want to be able to enjoy them and have them be able to enjoy their time. And like I said, right now, Asher is like, he's like clueless and he's still happy. And Simon's like 50% better today. And I'm just asking for prayer and miracles. Thank you. God bless.